Well, good afternoon and welcome to the final race of the GB3 Championship this weekend here in Kent in the southeast of England at Brands Hatch on the GP circuit. I'm John Jackson, Piers Pryor alongside me. It's a little bit cooler now, it's still pretty warm here, but we've got an exciting reverse grid race coming up for you. And Piers, just explain to us why we do a reverse grid race and how drivers qualify for that reverse grid race.
Qualifying session is about 20 minutes long and the drivers need to set 2 fast laps if they can. The first lap, of course, sets the grid for race 1. Second fastest lap in qualifying will set the grid for race 2, which we've already had. The third race of the weekend is a full reverse grid of those drivers who had a lap time in qualifying that was within 103% of the fastest time, which was, of course, Joseph Lowe. But such is the tightness of the championship field in GB3, everyone made it, so it's a full reverse grid.
Yeah, of course, Noah Ping would have been on pole position, but the American driver has a penalty, so he's now not on pole position. Daniel Mavlatov for Hill Speed, a double race winner this year in the GB3 Championship. He's on pole position. Already we've seen every driver win from pole position this weekend, both in GB3 and in GB4. So it could be a third race win for Daniel Mavlatov with Hill Speed if he cannot put a foot wrong. Sean Rashid will be second for Douglas Motorsport. Obviously had a little bit of tricky second race there. We'll see the highlights in just a second. And then Arthur Rojon, who also has been on the podium in a reverse grid race as well. He's in third place, so it could be quite tight. I don't think Sean Rashid's been on the podium yet. So no. If he can hold it together, it could be a very positive day for him.
Yeah, it'd be good starting second on the front row. He'll have a good opportunity to get away at the line, and I think if the race goes pretty clean, then the person that gets away at the front of the field would have a very, very good chance of winning overall. But I reckon don't count out Arthur Rojon. That Chris Dittman car is looking pretty strong this weekend. It's always been good around Brands Grand Prix, so we'll see. It depends who gets around the first lap in first place, I reckon.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. Let's take a look then at the highlights of race 2. It was won from pole position by Ronan Carlin's Callum Boyson.
Highlights from round 17 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Callum Foysen starting this one from pole position, which is a worse start for him than it was for Joseph Loke. He get around the outside at Paddock Hill and really was attacking the race leader. Up the hill they'd go, contact between the pair of them, but just a little brush. Joseph Loke not able to get around the outside of Callum Foysen and complete the move, and the Rodin Carlin car would hang on to the race lead, looking for his first victory of the season. There were a couple of squeezes out wide, including that from John Bennett, putting two wheels into the gravel and into the dirt on the run out of the corner. Was able to get back onto the circuit as Noah Ping was having a couple of issues. Not quite the same recovery drive as what he had yesterday. There would be a safety car courtesy of an issue for Lucas Styko and Noah Ping in that instant. Once we got back racing again, we were flying around this circuit. It was a big move down the inside from Mackenzie Cresswell. A mistake there from James Headley, just getting onto the rubber, onto the marbles and being pushed straight off the circuit courtesy of that. Costa Paris having a bit of an excursion off the circuit at Surtees, up and into the air. He'd rejoined the race circuit, losing only a handful of positions, and James Headley was putting on an unbelievable recovery drive straight down the inside of Zach Taylor as he'd work his way up comfortably inside the top 10. Callum Foysen, though, was leading the race. He'd come through the final corner and would take his first victory of 2023 in dominant fashion over Joseph Loke and Mackenzie Cresswell. We'll take a look at the race finishing order as well. Of course, provisional, but still, Foysen, Loke and Cresswell on the podium. Alex Dunn in 4th position with Matthew Rees in 5th. Weberski having an excellent drive up to 6th position with Kuharczyk in 7th. Headley, Taylor and Morales round out the top 10.
So an eventful race in the GB3 Championship. James Headley going for a little trip to the beach there, and I know you caught up with him a short while ago before we started the broadcast, and he was unsure if the contact was made with him, and it must be quite interesting as a driver to not know if you've made contact with someone, because I guess the position you're in the car, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, basically it was he was talking about the move up the inside that Mackenzie Cresswell made into turn 1, which led Headley to go through the gravel. That late move that Mackenzie Cresswell made forced Headley onto the marbles, which then eventually made him slide off into the gravel, and he wasn't sure if he got a little nudge or whether it was just the gravel, because sometimes the lack of grip or the car snapping away can be so sudden that it feels like you've been nudged. But no, there was, as far as we're aware, there was no contact. He didn't seem too displeased about it. He recognised he made a little mistake by looking in the wrong mirror, but he still managed to salvage a decent top 10 result.
Yeah, Matthew Rees also, putting pressure with his aggressive driving on Costa Taparis, making him make a mistake as well. Let's take a look at the championship standings then. The championship leader is still Callum Foysen on 342 points for Rodin Carlin. Joseph Loke just behind him, the JHR Developments driver, on 329. Alex Dunn on 298 for High Tech, Pulsate in 3rd place. Mackenzie Cresswell very consistent in the recent races, 270 points for Elite Motorsports, with James Headley dropping down a place with Arden VRD on 265 to 5th place. Matthew Rees, JHR Developments on 258, closing in on James Headley now down in 6th. Timothy Kuharczyk in the Douglas Motorsport car, 249. There's then a big gap to Jared Weberski, Vortec Motorsport driver, on 167, with John Bennett, Nico Christodoulou and Noah Ping just dropping out of the top 10 to 11th there. And we've seen some excellent racing from all of these drivers. Is there one driver that you particularly think maybe has lost out this weekend ahead of this race? Because we've seen Callum Foysen and Joseph Loke both win races. For me, it must be Alex Dunn because of not finishing, well, not barely even starting the race on race day 1.
Well, we saw yesterday, of course, Alex Dunn behind us for the High Tech Pulsate team got taken out of race 1, and that's a big dent in his championship hopes. But there's still 7 races remaining. That's a lot of points on the table. Who knows what can happen? It makes it worse that his 2 main championship rivals are having such a good weekend so far, a first and a second and a second and a first respectively. So yeah, Alex Dunn is the one that's losing out most at the moment, but hey, we know that High Tech Pulsate team can be the absolute dominating force. We saw last year they won the championship, and of course at Spa they were almost untouchable as well.
Yeah, they were indeed. Well, look, coming up, it's part 2 of Max Maserati and Piers Pryor taking a look at some of the most important corners, the flashpoints, I believe you call it, of the track here at Brands Hatch GP. But first, let's remind ourselves of what the track has to offer.
Well, to West Kingsdown in Kent then, as we head to the jewel of Kent. It is Brands Hatch, one of the most iconic circuits in the United Kingdom, most notably courtesy of its undulation and iconic corners. Paddock Hill, Surtees, up into the Grand Prix loop when you go into the woods, up to Hawthorns Bend. All of these corners are absolutely iconic. We begin this drop down the hill through Westfield Bend, up Dingledale, and then through the Sheen Curve into Stirlings, and that final run down to the last corner. It is a difficult track to overtake at the best of times. Qualifying and track position will be absolutely key to success around here, as working your way through the field will be difficult, especially when it comes to working up positions in the reverse grid race. You can see the undulation and the up and down of the circuit is its most notable feature, dropping all the way down through Paddock Hill before rising up towards Druids. It's a fantastic circuit. It's a short circuit, just 2.5 miles all the way around through all of these really tricky corners, all 11 of them, most of them going to the right. Leaning on that front left is a key thing around here, so keeping control of your tyres on this very toasty September weekend is going to be very, very important.
Good to see the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in a bit more detail there, thanks Lewis. We've grabbed Garth Boberski. Garth, it's been a bit of an up and down weekend. Things were looking good for Jared, your son, who raced for Fortec in testing, and then qualifying didn't quite go to plan, but you clearly put the fire up his bum for race number 2, because he went from 14th to well inside the top 10.
Yeah, the race 1 went quite well as well. We started 14th and ran 9th until the last lap. Race 2, Jared drove fantastically to come from 14th up to 6th. Yeah, and it's just, I think we've got the pace. We just need a clean weekend with no breakages, reliability problems, anything like that. I think we have the pace. We've slowly been, it's been a frustrating year, the whole year. So just, we'll see how it goes.
Yep, so we've still got one more race this weekend, the reverse grid. We've seen that Jared's come through the field in the last couple of races. Think he can move forward in this reverse grid race as well? Yeah,
I think we can. We saved a set of tyres for the last race. So it's a long race, 25 minutes in the heat. It's going to be tyre dependent. I think you could see in the race 2, certain drivers started to fade towards the end of the race. So it's all going to be about time management and staying out of trouble. And I think if you can put another first lap like you did in race 2, where he made up 5 places, I think we might stand a possibility, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Well, thanks very much for chatting to us. We just saw the track guide. Well, let's have a look at the circuit on board in a bit more detail with Joseph Loke. On board with our eventual pole sitter Joseph Loke around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Turn 1 is Paddock Hill Bend. It's steeply downhill on the exit, and it car bottoms out in the middle just there. Watch out for track limits as well. Then Druids, braking in a straight line, trying to get right to the apex nice and early, hug it all the way around and a straight exit. Watch the curb on the left-hand side, it can drag you off. Immediately right for Graham Hill Bend. Nip the apex on the left and watch out for track limits again on the right-hand side. Your lap will be deleted. Next up we have Surtees, which feels like it goes on forever. Left, left and left. It goes steeply uphill on the exit. Watch out for the curb as it comes up quickly. Now the only part of the circuit where you get a small breather. The straight towards Hawthorns Bend, down Pilgrim's Drop. Just preparing the tyres for what would be our eventual pole sitting lap. Now the entry into Hawthorns, almost completely flat out once we're at full racing speed. Watch out again for the curb on the exit, no runoff there whatsoever. Another blind exit with Westfield. Again, the curb can drag you off the circuit. A couple of drivers falling foul of that in qualifying. Sheen next, again completely blind when you turn in, you have to be completely committed. No curb on the exit, again a mistake could be costly there. Then Stirlings, banked corner, again the curb on the exit comes up very quickly. One more corner to go, Clearways. It's uphill on the entry, then flattens out and goes downhill steeply on the exit. The car feels like it wants to wash out onto the gravel. You can see that DeLoke is pushing hard now as he starts what will be his pole-sitting qualifying time.
Well, that was Joseph Loke on board with him in his JHR Developments car, putting in a hot lap. That was the lap just before his qualifying lap. It meant that he was P1 for the first race, P2 for the second race, and that's how he actually finished in the race as well. Now, I just got to show you some of these supercars here, because if you ever come to an MSV race weekend, you know, you can watch both the GB4, the GB3 Championship, the British GT Championship. It's also on the package as well as Janetta's. and you get to come and look up and close and personal at cars that, quite frankly, I can't afford. I don't know about you, maybe you can. I'm sure Piers Pryor might be able to afford one of these. He's a racing driver after all. And speaking of Piers Pryor, I've sent him off to find someone, and I believe he's with Joseph Loke's driver coach, Mike Epps.
Mike Epps, driver coach for the JHR developments team. It's a pretty strong qualifying from both your drivers. Joseph Loke on pole for race 1. It's not his first time on pole around here though.
No, we were just talking actually. Yeah, he poled it last year in the British Formula 4 Championship here, under my wing, as it were, or the School of Sen banner. So it's nice to repeat it. Didn't quite get the second lap, but red flags and all that stuff. So coulda, shoulda, woulda. So yeah, solid performance. Bit of a shame for Matt, not quite there. A little bit left, right, a little bit forward, back, just from where he needs to be during the session. So a bit squiffy, but. It's all to play for on the race, isn't it?
Margins are so fine. You mentioned, Matt is only a few tenths off and he's down, what, I think it was P5, P6, and it's, especially around here, because it's kind of narrow, you're threading it through undulation, you can't see a lot of the corners. It really is precision around here, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, Matt's second best lap, I think, puts him further up the board than his first best. So that's how much of a little swing there was from the top time to P5. It's very close in the middle, but Joseph's just found an extra 2 or 3 tenths out the back, which is something we've been working on for years, to be honest. So yeah, he's finally grown a pair.
Grown a pair, yeah, because I remember last year he was very, very quick and found something special in, I think, his quali lap. But you mentioned red flags a moment ago. It seems to be a bit thing that kind of comes around a lot of Brands GP. Is that just sort of a bit of a nature, and do you think that might play into the tactics that drivers are going to be thinking about for the race?
I think given that two of the fairly top contenders, one of them certainly, have had an off in quali there, a lot of damage to repair for the race in the afternoon. So it's a bit lead and follow around here, I'm afraid, because it's aero, and there's only so much you can do in the wash. But I think they will all be thinking a little bit about, the heat. The tyres are going to go off a lot worse than normal, and it is going to be about playing the long game of the race, I think. So, more on our side, it's about getting away with Joseph, and with Matt, I think it's just about attacking on the first couple of laps. He's a Welshman, he's pretty good at that. So.
We've seen that he doesn't mind getting stuck in. Of course, we mentioned it's difficult to race 3. Your drivers are going to need to make their way through the field. Callum Voisin did it last year, made up quite a few positions. Have you had a watch? Are your drivers looking at what he did, or maybe what other drivers and what you can do around here?
We do a lot of sim work, obviously. Me and Callum, School of Sen, all our drivers, we do a load of sim work, and predominantly it's racecraft, because there's only so much stuff you can do on the sim that actually replicates what a real tyre does and what the cars handle like. So we just get them down to a lap, and then we do a lot of sim work. So that may still not play off. They might have a moment, they might misjudge something. But yeah, this year's proven it. It's very important to get your places in race 3. And just like the F4 Championship, the same with the reverse grid, you can't just treat that like a race that, we'll just leave that one, don't worry, we'll finish 15th. I think you've really got to get through and try and nail those top 10s in race 3, which is hard around here, but that's where those last few points come from, which at the end of the day, especially in this case, that can nail the championship.
Great to hear from Mike from the School of Send, who coached the JHR development drivers, and doing really, really well with Joseph Loke and Matthew Rees. Certainly putting in impressive performances this weekend. Now, we're going to look at just a second with Max and Piers at some more important corners here on the track at Brands Hatch GP. But first, let's forget Piers, come back. Let's forget about driver coaches, Piers. Let's talk about the legendary Kentagon Cafe behind me here. I mean, this is probably a scene of many important moments in your racing career.
I watched Lewis Hamilton win the 2008 World Championship in that bar.
Did you have food?
I can't remember, I was about 10.
They do a great baked potato.
Do they?
Yeah, or I think a roast dinner on a Sunday, if that's your vibe.
Not today, too hot for that.
Cold drinks. You know what, there's a coffee machine in there. I don't think it's had any use today. It's way too hot. Way, way too hot. And now look, it's time to introduce the long-awaited second part of Max and Piers. Looking at a couple more corners here at the Brands Hatch track. And actually, as we look over here, we're looking at T1, T2, T3. Unless you come here to Brands Hatch, you don't see the height, the elevation difference here. You can play it on a game, you don't really get that. I mean, is that something as a driver that is a real concern for you, or is it actually quite exhilarating?
It is very exhilarating. I mean, we're looking literally at sort of Paddock Hills right behind us, and you can see the run down from Druids to Graham Hill. It almost looks like it's in front of you. It's so steep, and the drop down Paddock Hill and the whole back section, which we'll see in a moment on the walk that Max and I did last night. It makes it really, really unique here at Brands GP, but it's also part of the challenge.
Excellent. Well, here we go. Piers Pryor alongside GB4 driver last season, Max Maserati, taking a closer look at the track here on the Brands Hatch GP circuit.
We've made our way to Surtees corner now, the part where the circuit leaves the Indy, the short circuit, and goes on to the Grand Prix loop. A really important corner, Max, not only because it goes on for so long, but also because you've got such a long straight afterwards.
Yeah, it's another good overtaking opportunity, but it's still quite a hard one to pull off. This corner, however, actually you can pass that. It's about all of your run, especially first lap, coming out of turn 3. You can do a good surprise up the inside here, and normally you actually end up running them so far wide, accidentally offline, that it's actually quite hard to get a cut back. You can't just swoop underneath. And even if, you know, the whole reason why you get a toe is you have to match the speed and then gain from it. And normally you lose so much time in the middle of the corner from someone going up your inside, you actually don't get enough of a draft to really do anything about it.
And as much as the GB3 cars are very aerodynamically heavy, or, you know, biased cars, this corner is a lot about mechanical grip, not massively high speed, but there's something to do with the grip that's kind of unique here, Max, about the circuit.
Yeah, what's different, this is a crossover point of 2 circuits, and the Indy circuit is used very frequently, day in, day out. It's actually used before qualifying. You know, it's used on the Friday. You don't use the GP, you use the Indy. So what ends up happening is everyone lays down all this rubber offline of what would be the GP, and you can kind of see it. It's quite close to curb where it's very dark, and on that inside curb it's very dark, and that's because it swoops around and goes to the right here where the Indy would be. But what you need to do is go from the outside, cross over it, where you see there's almost like a dark patch from the outside in, and there's that like clear patch in the middle, and that's where none of the rubber has gone down. So
and then in the middle of the corner where you cross that rubber, it really grips up, and you have to use that, don't you?
Exactly where we're standing, and you can feel it again under your feet. This is exactly like the crossover point between the 2 different lines where both of them come together. So it will really grip up here, and then you're going to start to slide as you get on the power, as you come off that rubber. And you're going to really try and get on the power before that white line. That's your reference.
Yeah.
So you're going to be chasing full throttle by that point, pushing out onto the exit curbs.
Yeah, and then we head out onto the Grand Prix loop, which is where the circuit starts to get really gnarly. Let's head over there. Max, the last corner on our track walk, and we've saved one of the best till last. We're here at Sheen, which is absolutely full commitment. You've got undulation, you've got curbs, you've got gravel traps. It's fully committed, and with the downforce in the GB3 car, it's amazing to drive, right?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's minimal brake, if any, I think now for these corners.
No, it will definitely be no brake, because even in 2020 there was no brake.
Okay, well, there you go then. So it's like, I mean, that's just crazy. You know, like, coming up, so you'll be coming up here, like, probably lifting a little bit early to try and carry as much minimum speed as you possibly can through this corner. If you get your right wheels, you need to be getting them on this part of the curb here.
It's like a 2-stage curb, isn't it?
There is. Any more, you just bottom out, you get oversteer on the exit, you'll probably find the gravel, you know,
quite easily.
Quite easily.
Yeah.
It's so close, it's so punishing, and that's what's so great about this corner. In dirty air, you hate it. It's like, oh, it's one of the corners you really hate the most, because you might have even got a good run if you think, oh, I want to set something up for the last corner, and then you hit this and you just like wash out. There's only one line through here. You can't do too much to help yourself. So
the minimum speed through here is so high, and the grip goes down. It's so important to make it to this curb. I mean, I'll get my mic down. You can hear the grip. You know, there's proper grip online, but if you miss it by half a car, Max, there's only one way you're going.
Oh yeah, you're going straight to the gravel.
That massive gravel trap, and it is quite inviting. I've been through it. It's right there, and it's so easy to do because there's no curb on the exit either. It's just a white line and then dirt.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you don't get to the white line, you haven't committed. You know, you haven't carried enough speed through. Your minimum isn't going to be as good, and it's all those kind of things that add up to if you're going to get pole here, which normally decides if you're going to win the race or not. So if you're not committed enough to go, you know, to try and gain all the time, that's why the drivers love it. It's a commitment circuit.
It really is.
It's all about, you know, how brave you can be, how skilled you are, you know, how good is your technique to gain the most out of the tyre and the car without going into the gravel.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best circuits in the world, and a real pleasure to have it on the GB3 calendar. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Let's see the drivers racing it in real life now.
Well, me and Piers have made our way down to the assembly area. The first thing to notice, Piers, a lot cooler now and a bit of a breeze. How's that going to affect things out on track?
Yeah, the breeze has definitely picked up. It's not super strong, but it's definitely there, and it's basically going down a tailwind into turn 1, which would then be a headwind into Surtees right behind us. So that'll mean that they're travelling faster into turn 1. They'll have to brake a bit more, but it'll also make the car feel a bit more nervous because it'll take a bit of load off the rear wing.
Excellent stuff. Well, look, we've got Joseph Loke here, who's second in the championship, won the first race. He's starting at the back of the grid because it's a reverse grid race. Let's just see how he's feeling. He told me at the beginning of the year that beginning of the weekend, that he wants to finish the weekend in the championship lead. Do you think that's possible?
It's definitely going to be tricky, that's for sure. I think the reverse grid race is all about kind of, you know, making sure that we don't make any mistakes, making sure we finish is more the key point, and you know, if we can do that, then we might be able to close some points on Callum.
Okay, well, Callum Voisin, your championship contender there, the championship leader, just next to you here, starting slightly in front of you. So best of luck, Joseph Loke there, driving with JHR Developments, and a driver that we've seen do incredible things this weekend. Let's move over then, because Daniel Mavlatov starts on pole position for Hill Speed. Second, Sean Rashid for Douglas Motorsport, but Sean only just arrived at the assembly area here. Most of the cars have been here for maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so. What are they doing to the car right now, Piers? Does it look like?
I actually have no idea, but there's a lot of people around looking concerned, so clearly not everything is as it should be, and normally when a car arrives late to the grid and people are jumping around it, something's not quite there, and Sean's shaking his head, so hopefully we can get him out, but if not, then of course Daniel Mavlatov is going to be leading us out from pole.
Yeah, we can see a computer there with the GB Championship, telemetry and everything, so it's going to be interesting to see. We're just moving hastily out of the way here. We're going to make sure man Ben doesn't get in anyone's way at all, but it's going to be an interesting race, isn't it, the reverse grid race? How do you see this this finishing? How many places, realistically, could Joseph Loke and Callum Voisin and Mackenzie Cresswell make up from the back of the grid?
Well, they could definitely go up 5, 6, 7 places. We saw Callum Voisin do it last year, but I'm expecting the winner to come from the first few, because I think the first 4 or 5 drivers have all got pretty much brand new tyres on at least 2, if not 4 of their wheels.
I think Nico Christodoulou's been looking pretty quick for Arden VRD, so if I'm going to have to pick someone, I would suggest it would maybe be him. But yeah, we've seen Jared Waberski taking on a lot of places, 7 or 8 in that last race. He's looking really, really good. Look out for him, he's in the red and white Fortec with the bright yellow branding on the side.
And also Artur Rojan went up 11 places in the previous race, so could be a good shout, but we'll see. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be an excellent race. Piers is going to run away, as he always does, to join Lewis McGlade on commentary. Let's go racing for one final time in the GB3 Championship here on the Brands Hatch GP track.
Still a long way to go in the 2023 GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Still 7 races left to deal with, but still a tight championship where race 3s in the reverse grid could be the big deciding factor. It is Mavlatov who will be starting once again from pole position. We know how strong he is from these reverse grids. Of course, he has taken victory twice this season from the reverse grids, looking for yet another one. The last one he got was at Snetterton, and he very much deserved that one. Of course, he did win on the first weekend of the season as well. He'll be starting this one from pole position. I'll talk to you a little bit, though, about the championship, because Callum Voisin is leading after his first victory in this season just earlier on today, and of course leads by 13 points from Joseph Loke. But this race has reverse grid points, so it's 20 points for a race victory, and of course you get a position, a point for every position that you gain, that you finish higher than you started. Of course, what that means is that we need to take a look at the grid as well, because we can see where everyone's starting. So Daniel Mavlatov will be starting from pole position with Sean Rashid alongside at a tumultuous previous race after an incident earlier on. Artur Rojan will start from 3rd place, with Edward Pearson starting from 4th on that 2nd row of the grid. Lucas Styko and Noah Ping, who looked really good and really quick, could well be up for a race victory for the Arden VRD team. Nico Christodoulou will start from 7th position, with Gerard Shee starting from 8th. The final couple of positions inside the top 10 have Max Essendon and David Morales starting from 10th for JHR Developments. Jared Oberski actually had a really good race last time by working his way up the order. Suter Rao, still a bit inexperienced around the Brands Hatch circuit. We started high-tech Pulse 8 from 12th. Michael Shin from 13th, and Oliver Stewart from 14th position. And then we get Timothy Kuharczyk, who had a disappointing qualifying, but still now gets to make up a load of positions, maybe 14 of them, and taking a race victory. He'll start alongside Costa Taparis in 16th. Zach Taylor actually having a really solid weekend this time by. He'll start from 17th position in the reverse grid race, and then John Bennett will start from 18th. Alex Dunn, disappointment in the first race of the weekend, managed to recover a little bit with a 4th place finish in the last one. Matthew Rees, the driver he made contact with, starting from the final position inside the top 20. James Headley in 21st. Mackenzie Cresswell, after 4 consecutive podiums, will start from 22nd on the grid. And then our final row, our top 2 in the championship, ladies and gentlemen, it is Callum Voisin starting alongside Joseph Loke in what will be a big tussle for the 2023 crown. I cannot wait to see how this is going to unfold, and I have absolutely no idea as to who is going to be advantageous on that side. Of course, Callum Voisin has been arguably the most consistent this season. Joseph Loke had his slight drop-off and then returned his way up towards the top echelons of GB3, as he has done once again. Finds himself, as I've said before, 13 points behind Callum Voisin. They do their final bits of warming up the tyres on what has been that warm weekend, like we said about record-breaking on that side of things, maybe record-breaking on the side of things when it comes to Mackenzie Cresswell's podium finishes. And again, you can see there 27 degrees ambient temperature, which means track temperature is probably around about the mid-30s. It did get into the lower 40s yesterday, which is hot enough to basically cook an egg. And I think not too far. Obviously, I am Lewis McGlade. I am joined in the commentary booth by the man himself, Piers Pryor, who has worked his way up to the commentary booth and is now out of breath.
I feel like a cooked egg, Lewis.
Good.
Soft-boiled.
Soft-boiled?
Soft-boiled, yeah, not quite hard-boiled, but we're okay. We survived. Hopefully we can make it to this race, but I'm looking forward to an interesting one there. You can see some cars at different angles, everyone pointing in or out, depending on what they think is going to be best. But here we are, race 3 of the weekend, reverse grid. Let's see what happens. Yeah,
Sean Rashid is one that's right on an angle. Look at that on the right-hand side of the grid, the number 32. We are underway. Big wheel spin there from Daniel Mavliatov from pole position, but he's actually converted quite well, all things considered. Joseph Loke's gone onto the grass in the background. There's already some wings flying all over the place. There's already contact. That's Roche on the spin round. And I think that's with Sean Rashid. There's more contact in the middle. Suter Arau having problems. Gerard Shee having problems. I think that's James Headley who's come through in all of that. How are our title protagonists? We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, wow. That's James Headley had to pretty much come to a stop there. Wow. That's another Douglas. Timek Kuharczyk has been in the wars. That is one of the Douglas cars, number 7. Oh, it's a shame for Timek Kuharczyk. And there's one of the other Douglas cars there who's been obviously that contact at turn 1 with Arthur Roge. And that was a messy start. Some desperate downs on the first corner, I think.
And you'll be shocked to hear the safety cars out immediately. Absolutely no one is surprised by that. And that means that we can breathe, Piers.
We
can absolutely breathe. Again, anyone also to note as well about this race, it is a longer race, the reverse grid, than what we normally run in proceedings. As you can see, Sean Rashid getting out of the car, obviously replacing what he needs to replace in the car. Yeah, longer race normal. We normally talk of a 15-lap race that can be 20 minutes long at a maximum. This is a 17-lap race that can be 25 minutes. I think we're going to the 25-minute time limit because I think that is going to take quite a lot of clearing up.
Yeah, there'll be at least a couple of laps. I mean, we've got 2 off in the gravel at Paddock Hill. We've got 1 stopped on circuit. There's Gerard Shee in the white Hill speed car at the bottom of Paddock Hill. I don't know if there's anyone else. There's also some debris in the start-finish line. That was a bit of a chaotic start right from the moment go.
We've not seen a start that chaotic.
No.
Really, in GB3, like, to be fair, ever that in the time that we've been boring people to sleep.
Here we go, the restart, and you can see there's some contact almost immediately with this. You'll see a wing end plate fly up. Yeah, that is from actually Sean Rashid already, but then Sean Rashid tries to keep up the inside. It looked like Arthur Roge will potentially squeeze him a little bit. We need a better angle, and then the mid-pack is chaos.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out what actually happened to us. So there was a Fortec that was going quite slow with Pearson, I think Esterson as well, and it just kind of all this bubble. I do believe Loke and Callum Voisin were through cleanly.
Yeah, Timek Kuharczyk's rear end was demolished by the spinning Shee. It wasn't really his fault, so that's a shame for Timek. But yeah, it looked like it was almost triggered by Edward Pearson going slowly, potentially had an issue, or maybe he just backed off heavily to try and stay out of the contact between the 2 drivers at the first corner. But it was just a concertina accident, I think, in the end.
Yeah, the first bit, I think, is absolutely Sean Rashid's on his shoulders.
Probably.
I think I was a little bit too aggressive in the first corner. I think the rest of it is a bit up for grabs. Weberski into the pit lane after damage.
Oh, Jared Weberski will be disappointed with that. He was looking forward to a good race in number 3, made up a lot of places in race number 1, as did Artur Rojan, actually. I was hoping to keep an eye on his progress in this one, but unfortunately, of course, getting in contact with Sean Rashid at the first corner means that he's not going to continue on. That's front wing damage there for the Elite Motorsport car there, number 16.
Cresswell?
Yes, Cresswell's got front wing damage, so he's not going to go forward. Oh, no, Joseph Loke has got front wing damage.
Oh,
no, he has got heavy front wing damage. Yeah, really, really bad. That is going to have to come in. Does he know?
Well, this is the thing, is that, like, if he comes in now, yes, he's going to start at the back of the pack, but it's the back of what has been quite a substantially affected pack when it comes to retirement. And also, Voisin is like a couple of positions behind. But then when it comes to those that are through the pit lane, he'd actually be in 19th spot. So he'd only be 2 positions behind Voisin. So he needs to come in.
He needs to come in, but the thing is, when you're going this slow, you don't know whether you've got front wing damage. The only indication you might have is being able to hear a little, like, of the front wing rubbing on the ground. But if that's not possible, you can only really feel the front wing damage if you're traveling at racing speed.
Okay, so JHR will obviously be trying to communicate that with him.
In every way possible. But there's no ship-to-shore radio.
There's no radio. So... and again, this is the kind of thing with the GB3 Championship, is you have to make the decision in the car.
Yep, you do. You really do have to make that decision for yourself.
How do you know? What's the process here for Loke?
Loke, as I said, the only way he will actually definitively know whether he's got front wing damage at this stage is either he's had the damage before the safety car lights went out, but I would have thought he would have pitted at the end of the first lap. So he
wouldn't have known.
Yeah, so he clearly hasn't done enough or high-speed racing with that front wing damage. I said the only other thing he might hear is the front wing, like, rubbing on the ground, scraping. But then you're like, you don't want to pit just in case it's just something dragging that is not an issue. But you can, it's almost like, we can see obviously, but in the car you cannot see.
Cannot see it, no.
You can only see the tops of the front tyres. It looks like, as Martin Brundle puts it, you're sitting in the bathtub and you're looking over the taps.
Yep.
You know, you can't see anything else. So
let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, because it would be good to see Joseph Loke come in and at least get some racing. Yeah, you can see him I think he's trying to feel whether he has damage or not.
Come on, Loke. Come into the pit lane.
No, he hasn't got an idea.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. He'll get the pit board this time, though, from his team saying in.
And I think there should be enough time. Let's see if we can see that pit board.
The only thing is if he's looking,
you can see there's a pit board, various pit boards being held out. I will say, if he doesn't see the pit board and if he doesn't come into the pit lane, I'll tell you, I think the angriest man in the entirety of Kent would actually be Mike Epps.
No, I think second to Joseph Loke.
Well, yeah, but I think Mike Epps would be like, mate, look at the pit board, because like if the thing is with Joseph Loke, yeah, he'll be irritated and stuff, but it's like, well, yeah, but you've got to look at your pit board.
Yeah, the thing is, your brain genuinely might switch. You know, I say switch off. You didn't switch off, of course, you're still concentrating, but your brain might not go straight to, I need to look at the pit board on the foot safety car, because what information can the team give you? Obviously, in hindsight, he'll know that he ideally would have looked at the pit board, because that would have been the information he can use to affect his race. But at this stage, if we go green this time, it's going to be...
I don't think so, because they're still getting Suter Arau's car out from Druids.
Yes.
I know that they've just put the Zoom Boom.
There's two cars being retrieved from Druids. That's Timur Kuharczyk as well.
Yeah,
yes,
Kuharczyk is out there as well. So I think we still have a little bit of time under this safety car, and so I know all the Joseph Loke fans are kind of sat there being like, please come into the pit lane, please do it this time, because all you're going to lose is a couple of positions. There is Suter Arau's car.
It looks like due to the speed at which they're not able to retrieve that, we are going to be going for another lap, because that car is so low and it's on the grass. The Marshall team are having to work hard to not, cause any more damage to the floor of that car, getting it onto the flatbed.
Yeah. At least they care about that.
No, they do. Well, they do. The Marshalls, of course, they want to get the circuit clear, ready for racing as quickly as possible, and want to make sure the drivers are safe. But they know that these cars are very bespoke and high-speed racing machines. They don't want to cause any more damage. So black and orange meatball flag for number 84.
Which is Joseph Loke. So it's not only that the team have told him to come in, he has now been told by race control to come in. A meatball flag is a. Actually, I'll let you explain. I'll let you explain.
It's not officially known as the meatball flag. It's colloquially known as the meatball flag because if you haven't seen it in real life, it is a black flag with an orange circle in the middle, which doesn't actually really look like a meatball.
No, it doesn't.
But it's a good way of describing it. But it's a way for the race directors to be able to communicate with the drivers remotely to tell them that there's something wrong with their car that is either unsafe or not legal. And clearly that is unsafe. At racing speed, that front wing could easily get lodged under the front of Joseph Loke's car and send him into an accident. So hopefully he will be darting into the pits this time and he'll be able to join the back of the field, and we'll still have a good race for the championship between Loke, Voisin and, of course, Dunn, who's actually made a couple of positions, I believe.
Yeah, Dunn running in 12th now in this race, so has gone up the order. Here comes Joseph Loke then into the pit lane. Someone else was joining him in the pit lane there. I think it's Mackenzie Cresswell.
Who's also got that front wing damage.
Yeah. It's not quite as aggressive as Joseph Loke's, but
same result. Same result. Here we go.
He can maybe gain the position if he goes quick.
Should we have a quick look and see which team's going to have the fastest front wing change here? It's like Formula One.
Come on, come on.
Because he could legitimately make a position up in the pit lane here. This is quite crucial.
I mean, Joseph Loke's car should move first.
But it's whether it looks like JHR are doing a good job so far. Although Elite have got the front wing on. Of course, yeah, it's tightened. It's not quite as quick release as in Formula One. There are actual bolts that need to be tightened rather than just a quick nip up like they do in Formula One. And Joseph Loke has leapfrogged Mackenzie Cresswell in the pit lane, which is allowed to do because the cars are stationary.
Yep.
Despite it being under safety car conditions, that position will be remaining.
There we go. So a freebie for Joseph Loke, but obviously the team had to work quite hard for that, meaning that he'll still be 2 positions behind Callum Voisin. But it's not 3 positions behind.
That's about the best you can ever hope for with front wing damage in a race. That's potentially saved Joseph Loke's race, because any other race of the season, if you get front wing damage, that's pretty much game over in terms of points, because once you make a pit stop, you're pretty much out of it. Yes, he's dropped down behind Voisin and Woberski, but he's only lost 2 places and no time, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. He is still in the fight, in for the drama. I mean, we always say safety car breeds safety car.
Should we have a quick look down the order and update people of where we have actually finished the safety car first lap?
Yeah, certainly so. We do have a Wasp joining us in the commentary booth, so we'll try not to scream too much. But you can tell, by the way, it'll go to a timed race. Mavlyatov still will be leading, again looking for his 3rd victory of the season, with Styko and Chris Dulu at the moment on the podium. Noah Ping, by the way, has actually done a really good start here, up to 4th position from 6th. We know how fast he's been this weekend.
Yeah, he has.
Pearson, Morales, Shin, Esserson, Taylor and Stewart are those that are rounding out the top 10. John Bennett's looking for another top 10, is in 11th. Then we get the first of our real title protagonists in Alex Dunn, who's in 12th place, to Paris, Reese, Headley, and then this man here, Callum Voisin, who's in 16th position. 17th for Woberski, 18th for Joseph Loke, 19th for Mackenzie Cresswell, and then we have retirements in Rashid, Rojon, Shea, Arau and Kuharczyk.
That's a lot of retirements. Probably the most retirements we've had in a GB3 race this season, I would imagine. And there's going to be a lot of repair. It's a terrible weekend for Suter Arau. He's going to be bitterly disappointing. He's going to be bitterly disappointed to have to pick himself up after this weekend. You know, good, decent pace in testing, and then in qualifying, not too bad. He would have been up inside the top 10 or up within near the top 10, but then big crash in qualifying meant he couldn't start race 1. Race 2 was okay, and now a crash in race 3. So not much running for Suter Arau this weekend, but we're going to Zandvoort next time out, which would be good for him to, you know, try a different Formula 1 circuit as well as all the other drivers on the grid as well, of course.
Nice little holiday for us as well.
Yeah.
You know, to the beach in October. That's exactly where we want to go.
The Dutch beach in October, yes.
It's a new circuit for me to tick off. I've never been to Zandvoort. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to going to see it.
It's going to be a great addition to the GB3 calendar. I hope it stays as well. Another Grade 1 Formula 1, you know, current season Formula 1 circuit on the calendar. More experience for the drivers, and also just an awesome circuit for the, you know, just an awesome circuit. And I think it will really, really suit these GB3 cars. They'd really come alive in medium and high speed corners that go on for a long time. Can really use the aerodynamic grip, and Zandvoort has that in abundance.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I say, getting another FIA Grade 1 listed circuit onto the books as well, meaning that we've got 3 in the season, obviously Silverstone and Spa being the other 2 this season. Those are things that kind of just increase the relevance of GB3, and when this is the stepping stone into Formula 3, you want to make that appealing to some of those younger drivers to come into this, so they know when they go into FIA F3 that they've at least had some experience on these circuits.
Absolutely, Lewis. Couldn't agree more. And hopefully that's why people keep coming back to the GB3 Championship. And the GB3 Championship is going from strength to strength. This is the biggest grid in highest level single-seater racing in the UK since I think 1970 something. So
yeah. And the worst commentary. No, of course, no.
Self-proclaimed.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, no, we had that stat from the start of the season. It's been an incredible run, and what I'm loving about this championship is that people are staying in the season basically all the way through. We are getting the same grid all the way through, which means you get those stories, you get those rivalries all built up. It's absolutely excellent. Anyway, we'll stop waffling because Mavlyatov is in control of the race. He'll try and lead from Styko. He gets going. Styko was fast asleep. That was literally me at 4 o'clock in the morning. He is not a part of this race. Styko will potentially lose out immediately here to Christodoulou, who'll try and get around the outside of that race down towards Paddock Hill. Will still be able to hang on to that second position. Runs out wide. There comes the up and under. This should be Christodoulou making his way through as long as he has the overlap. They come into Druids. This should be good for Christodoulou.
Great driving from Christodoulou right on the gearbox of Styko. Styko basically slowed down after Mavlyatov went away, as we see him fighting further down the field, and also voicing up the inside of Matthew Rees. Can he get that move done? They're still side by side. This is a big fight for the championship.
Yeah.
Whoa, Rees going around the outside of Costa Tavares. Can he get that move done? What a move.
That was pretty incredible. We'll see if that hangs firm all the way up. Here's Morales and Ping going side by side. This is all behind the likes of Pearson. So Ping's actually dropped backwards a little bit on that race start. Still more side by side, but plenty of all of these. Oh my goodness, Callum Foysen risking everything, trying to go around the outside of his Roden Carlin teammate. And here comes Joseph Loke into the mix as well. It's not two positions anymore. It's just the single one. Joseph Loke is charging.
Yeah, and Tavares is falling down the order very, very quickly. I don't know if he's got an issue or whether he's just being shuffled backwards, but his teammate plus Loke, or Rees looking out the inside of Headley into Sterling's. That won't do, but now that's going to leave Rees vulnerable to Voicing once again.
This is absolutely incredible when it comes to the championship. Matthew Rees defending now from Callum Voisin. Obviously Matthew Rees in the orange highlighted grey JHR Developments car. Callum Voisin in that red, that bright red highlighted Roden Carlin that you can see going through shot there, the number 35, obviously defending for all his life. Joseph Loke is looking backwards to the black and yellow Elite Motorsports car at the moment that's sat right on his rear wing. Of course, Mackenzie Cresswell on his recovery drive lost the position to Loke in the pit lane, wants to gain it back on track.
Whoa, that was very, very close. It was, I think that was Loke up the back of Voicing through the Druids. It was almost no gap whatsoever, and everything just starting to settle down once again. But I don't think we're done with this many cars this close. All it takes is one driver to be slightly out of position on the exit of a corner, and it can create a whole new fight. Rees a little bit wide through the exit of Surtees there. That'll leave him vulnerable potentially to Callum Voicing going through Hawthorns. We know Voicing isn't afraid of going around the outside. He's looking inside, he's looking outside. Can he get it done again? Not quite enough of an overlap this time.
Yeah, with 10 minutes left to go in the race, by the way, we should have about 8 laps of racing. Might be 9, but I think it'll be more likely 8. Again, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Obviously, that will be 8 or 9, including the lap that we are presently on. The fastest lap has been set by Mavlyatov with that 21.999. Now finds himself 1.6 seconds clear of Christodoulou. But our eyes, they're grabbed by this championship fight. The fight for the title is just so incredibly strong at this point in the championship. Again, loving it.
It is good. It's great to see the drivers who are fighting for the championship racing at the front of the field in race 1 and 2, and then trying to pick their way through the field together in race number 3. Not working together as such, but working against each other. But at the moment, oh, it's a look from Ping up the inside of Pearson. Can he get that move done? Pearson actually was being very polite, giving him space there, and then ended up running off the circuit. Ping's now looking up the inside of Graham Hill. There's going to be contact. Somehow they've missed each other.
I thought Pearson was absolutely going to be sent round there, and here comes Morales in that 77 straight down the inside of Noah Ping, who was looking pretty aggressive there to try and pick up a couple of spots. Might actually hold. That was quite nice to for Ping to hold that position. Was getting seriously aggressive as here comes Michael Shin in the 23.
Michael Shin in the grey 23 high-tech Pulse 8 car is going to have a full overlap, which will put him in a good position to go around the outside of Hawthorns. So nearly contact. You do not want to make contact there. That is a brilliant move from Michael Shin.
Incredible stuff, though. Just again, it's beautiful to see them racing this hard, even around a circuit like this. That was scary. From all the tracks we've been to this season, this is the circuit. Even like comparing it to Old Park, this is a circuit where these cars have seemed the fastest. Just watching them through Paddock Hill, watching them through the final corner at Clearways, watching them around the back end of the circuit. These cars, they show how absolutely unbelievably quick they are, and it means that overtaking can be quite difficult. But if you've got to dig deep, you've got to get creative, as John Bennett nearly did there. there.
I mean, we say overtaking is difficult. There's been plenty of it in this race, but the cars, I agree, do look awesome around this circuit. They really, really suit it. And we're getting some great racing. We had a bit of a scrappy start to the race, but that's led to what is so far a great race through. We've still got 7.5 minutes remaining as now Zach Taylor looking around the outside of Max Esterson, not quite getting it done. Max Esterson is in that red and white number 42 Fortec Motorsport car. Zach Taylor behind in the black, red and yellow Chris Dittman car. Couldn't get it done that time, and now Zach Taylor having to defend from number 17. I think that's Stewart in the Elite Motorsport car, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, I've got to say, that was a bold attempt from Esterson to have tried that. From Esterson to defend that from Taylor. It was a great effort to have given that a go. Defensive move being made from Ollie Stewart. Here comes Joseph Loke down the inside, rather defending from Mackenzie Cresswell. Cresswell was the one that went out wide there. Now Costa Paris might get through. He doesn't do so. That was a great save from Mackenzie Cresswell.
A new race suit for Mackenzie Cresswell will be on order, I'm sure, first thing tomorrow morning, because that was a place you do not want to have a swapper on the grass. Wow, what a catch. Anyway, he saved it somehow and is back in the race. Costa Paris couldn't quite capitalise.
Oh, sorry, I need to recover from that moment from Mackenzie Cresswell. I've seen that before time and time again. I've seen it even today, but it normally ends up over in the barrier on what's the left-hand side of the shot, the right-hand side of the circuit, on the inside there. Didn't on that occasion. Okay, here we go then. Callum Foyce at number 35 trying to get to the outside of the number 5 of Matthew Rees. Rees with the inside line trying to hang on to what is 14th position on the road. That was well defended. Zach Taylor also trying to steal 8th place off of Esterson. It's quite a big train growing behind Esterson, who seems to be struggling a little bit on speed.
And yeah, and now because Callum, oh no, Esterson's off. Esterson's off. Has he dropped a wheel on the grass there, or is that something wrong with the car?
No, I think we were both looking at the battle behind.
Yes,
and
we were.
Both took our eyes off the prize.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a replay of that, because we were both looking behind at Voisin defending from Joseph Lowe, because he was. I know I'm going to trigger you with this, Lewis. He's in a JHR development sandwich, but
oh, don't you start.
But Esterson is going to be bitterly disappointed. He was driving well. He was trying to get past. Here we go. Let's have a look at Esterson. Oh, it's just a mistake. He's just run too wide on the entry of the corner, dropped a wheel off the road, and it's damaged his front wing as well, so he'll have to come in the pits. Oh, that is absolutely gutting for Max Esterson. This battle still rages on with Voisin, though.
But how easy is that to do? Because obviously at Graham Hill, you're looking at the apex, and you're angling across the road, so it's kind of, you've got to have like a sixth sense as to where the front right is.
Basically, you open up the corner as much as possible, get as close to the grass as you can, because it opens the line for Graham Hill to give you a good exit. But as you mentioned, you're looking in the other direction, so a slight lack of communication or misplacement of the car can, when that's the result we've just seen with Max Esterson. But this battle with Joseph Loke, just behind Callum Voisin, who's also behind Matthew Rees, still goes on. John Bennett is also stuck up behind the back of the Elite Motorsport car of Oliver Stewart, and they've been trying to figure out who's going to get that place by the end of the race a number of times this race. But you can see that was a shot there. All of the drivers are using all of the road there. Yeah. You only need to drop, go 6 inches, maybe even less to the right, and you'll see what happens.
I mean, I've got to say, I'm just going to explain as to why Piers was saying that it might trigger me if he says a JHR development sandwich, because I am going to say it, that it's not a JHR development sandwich. It's a Roden Carlin sandwich with JHR development bread. I can even see you mouthing it. You know exactly what I'm going to say. Goodness me. No, because there's a JHR development either side of this Roden Carlin, so you don't name a sandwich after the bread, do you? Anyway,
I love that.
Anyway,
back to the race. We're still looking at this battle with our championship leaders, because this is the one that is most important. It's also one of the closest battles on the road. It's interesting how it keeps ebbing and flowing. It seems like almost for a couple of corners, Voisin's on the back of Rees, but then Voisin potentially gets a bit of aero wash, and that drops him back towards Loke. And we know that all 3 of these drivers don't mind getting their elbows out and getting stuck in. They'll take a move whenever they can have it. And if anything, it looks like James Headley, around the outside.
No, it was Alex Dunn trying to get his way down the inside of John Bennett. Again,
no, Dunn's going backwards.
No, Dunn, because Bennett's obviously attacking Stewart. Sorry, Bennett's attacking Stewart, so Dunn has actually moved up. I think it's just he's got past Headley.
Are you sure?
Well, he was 12th earlier. Again, I'm not sure.
Anyway,
I don't know what.
Maybe I'm just getting confused here, but Headley looks like he's the one in this group that's dropping off the back of the group ahead, and will potentially start to feel the pressure from Matthew Rees.
Well, let's just wait and see if Dunn can do it. Because if Dunn moves his way up enough positions here, he might well be able to drag himself into the mix. You know, he's attempted an overtake there on John Bennett. He might be attempting one fairly soon. There's just 3 minutes left to go in this race, so they will be heading on to the penultimate lap next time. This is the 3 laps left to go in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC weekend here. And of course, what that means, really, is we've only got 6 more races after this.
I know, the season's coming round to a close really quickly. We're getting to the crunch time. But if we look back at the timing screen, we can see at the front of the field, Daniel Mavlyatov is doing his reverse grid master stroke once again, is pulling away at the front of the field. Gap now a 1.5 seconds, nearly over Christodoulou, although Christodoulou does actually have the fastest lap of the race that last time by.
Or was it really close there between Voisin and Loke going up towards T1? It was certainly close with Voisin and someone. We'll have to wait and see. I think it was Voisin and Loke that were separated by nothing across the line. Sorry, it was actually Voisin on the back of Rees. Loke hasn't closed his way back in. There is a look at Mavlyatov and Christodoulou. Mavlyatov struggling over the last couple of laps here, because look at this. Look at the gap that's been closed down. The first sector, it was 0.5 seconds difference between Mavlyatov and Christodoulou. So Mavlyatov is being closed in here. This is sketchy scenes for Hillspeed.
The thing I love about the reverse grid race, it really gives drivers something to fight for if they're not potentially up there in qualifying. Because the last lap that Daniel Mavlyatov did was a 1:20.5, which was, let me have a quick look at qualifying. That's nearly 7/10 faster than he went in qualifying.
Wow.
So he saves his best pace for the reverse grid because he's driving really well now. I mean, a 1:20.5 would have put him about 6 or 7 places higher on the grid if he'd have qualified there. And of course, these drivers are all learning with every lap and race they do. So, you know, it's somewhat inevitable they'll go fast as the rubber goes down as well. But he's driving really well. I mean, his last lap as well, he dropped off a little bit, a small mistake, as you actually saw a mistake just on the shot from Christodoulou as well. But, you know, driving really well at the front of the field and saving the best till last is Mavlyatov. And they're literally a class of their own at the front.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, they've pulled out, you know, nearly 6 seconds over Lucas Staiko, so that's all looking good. We are on the last lap of the race, so we are in the last opportunities for any potential moves from Mavlyatov trying to get past, or by Christodoulou, rather, Christodoulou trying to pass Mavlyatov. Staiko running in that 3rd position. Pearson still keeping him very close to company for that podium. Would like to grab that podium, would Pearson. Would be a nice end to the weekend for Fortec.
Yeah, it would. And Pearson, I know I spoke to him briefly as I passed him in the paddock over lunch, and he said he was looking forward to this 3rd reverse grid race because, of course, he actually had better tyres than everyone. He had 4 new tyres for this final reverse grid race after the issues he had in the previous races. Saved his best tyres for last and was hoping to use them, and he's done pretty well, to be honest. I mean, you know, P4 would not be a bad result for him. He would have hoped to have been on the podium, but he's right there, and even though it's the last lap, I wouldn't count him out so far.
No, certainly not. Well, into the final corners they will go. Coming up towards the line, Mavlyatov looking for yet another victory this season. He will come up to it and cross it. Mavlyatov taking his 3rd victory of the season ahead of Christodoulou, Staiko and Pearson. Let's see, it is Staiko onto the podium. Pearson will have to settle, and the battle for the championship rivals, it will be, unfortunately for Loke, Voisin ahead.
That is potentially handing, well, it is potentially, it's definitely handing more points the way of of Callum Voisin, so that's going to extend his lead even further. The gap's still not massive, but every point at this stage of the championship counts. I mean, every point, every round counts, but, you know, especially we get into the crunch time in the season, Voisin will be very, very pleased with that. Not the progress potentially he wanted to make, but in a race that was interrupted and then kind of settled down a little bit, all of the front runners will be glad to have got through that fairly unscathed. The drivers that will be most relieved, I think, in that one are James Headley after, you know, seeing his life flash before his eyes going down Paddock Hill the first time, and also Joseph Loke will think, you know what, today's my lucky day. I lost my front wing and still have only finished 1 place behind my main championship rival.
Yeah, like you say, you know, so sometimes it may not look like things have been amazing, but sometimes they just are. They add up at the end of the day, and that's what you've got to kind of focus on in all of this, and just kind of accept that. You know, just take what you can get. Just take what you can get.
Absolutely, and we're going to see exactly how much this means to the Hillspeed and team, and Daniel Mavlyatov. I'm sure will give it a big fist bump in a moment. The 3rd win of the season for Daniel Mavlyatov, taking over the reverse grid master reigns from Mikael Grundvig over the last couple of seasons. A great drive nonetheless, though. That's undoubtable. Lead lights the flag.
Yeah, and I do believe I think the points actually don't change. between Voisin and Loke. If they change it, it's only by, I think it's only by a couple of points. So things are actually all good for those on the podium. As we can see, Styko putting his wheel back in, and Callum Voisin. What do you think is going through Voisin's head? What do you think is going through Loke's head right now? You can see Mavliatov. What's going through his head at the moment?
Well, Mavliatov, you can see the big smile on his face. He'll be very happy with that, seeing his team and chatting to them. But I think going through both the heads of Voisin and Joseph Loke, you know, they'll both be pretty happy with this weekend. They've gained a decent amount over Alex Dunn, but also haven't had anything go too wrong.
Certainly not. Well, you can see Mavliatov here on screen. He'll be interviewed in a second, as we'll have to wait and see, because we'll jump down to them in a second to go and catch them with John Jackson. He'll be having a quick chat with Mavliatov. Third victory of the season. Again, there's not too many drivers that win too often, as you can see. You know a thing or two about winning a reverse grid race.
I do. I do. My only GB3 race win was in a reverse grid, much like Mavliatov did. But anyway, let's hear from our race winners now with John.
Here we go. We can see Daniel Mavliatov here just celebrating with the rest of the Hill Speed team. His third race win, as Lewis said there on commentary. I mean, impressive in these reverse grid races, managing to hold on. I'm just going to step in now and have a quick word with him. Daniel, 3 race wins this year. That's super impressive, and a tough race out there, but with the heat and also with the guys behind you.
Yeah, I mean, to start with, they sort of crashed behind me. Then, yeah, safety car. Took, I think, too long, safety car. Took like 10 minutes, but it's fine. I got a good restart, and yeah, I got kind of led away from that. Yeah, didn't really have to fight anyone, just sort of drove away. I think good race.
You've still got to finish that race. Are you sort of more concerned maybe about qualifying better and getting that better qualification time? Because you're great in these reverse grid races. It's just, obviously, you know, you're out the front of those reverse grid races for a reason, and it's maybe the qualifying that needs to push on maybe.
Yeah, I know we were like a second faster in this race than in quali, but we're working on that. The races are a bit better, but yeah, it's fine. Soon enough, quali will be good as well.
Excellent. Well, 3 race wins. Congratulations, Daniel Mavliatov, driving for Hill Speed, and Richard, the boss of Hill Speed, very, very happy. Just said to me off camera, he's glad that one's over. I can understand exactly why. Let's go and chat to Nico Christodoulou. Second place for him of the season. Let's just walk over here. Nico Christodoulou, congratulations, your second place of the season. A great drive from you, and you managed to stay out of all that trouble.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I didn't know that there would be a big pile up going into turn 1, so I just went for the outside and hope for the best. I ended up coming out in third, which wasn't too bad, but I was aiming to be a little higher by the end of the first lap. Safety car came out, and I just made sure to maximize the rest of the race.
Yeah, it must be nice to end the weekend with a trophy, you know, after maybe not being exactly where you want to be, and, you know, go on and look forward to Zandvoort with a trophy in your hand.
Yeah. I mean, reverse grid, it's not where everyone wants to be, but yeah, hoping for Zandvoort and Donington to have some high finishing weekends.
Excellent stuff. Well, look, I know you've got a lot of people watching over in North America. It's the final of the IndyCar as well today, so huge day of racing, and nice to see that you probably won the first trophy of the day, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, Nico Christodoulou there from Canada, of course, our North American contingent here. Where is Lucas Styko? Here he is. Hey, Luke, how are you doing? So, congratulations, another podium for you. How was it out there? Because there was a little bit of chaos going on.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good start. Through the whole weekend, we didn't have much pace, so it was all about the start and try to hold the guys behind. And I think I had a very good start, jumping to P2. But then in the safety car restart, I have a problem with the gears. I just got stuck in first gear, and then it was just to hold P3 to the rest of the race.
The conditions here a little bit more maybe what you're used to back home?
Yeah, I think a bit colder, but yeah, it was the round that was like closest temperature compared to what I was used to in Brazil, so yeah, it was good.
Got you. Obviously a lot of people watching around the world, a lot of people watching back home in Brazil. Is there anything you'd like to say to the camera, to people watching back home?
I just want to thank everyone that is watching, that supports me, that supports Douglas, and supports the championship. I think is good to have a lot of viewers in categories that I support in the way to drivers to F1. So it's good to have a lot of people watching it.
Nice one. We'll let you go and get your trophy. Congratulations, third place there for Lucas Styko, driving for Douglas Motorsport. From Lucas, we go to Lewis to talk you through the podium.
Sorry everyone who was expecting Lewis, it's me again, Piers. Let's have a talk through the highlights and the results from the race so far. I mean, it was a great race, chaotic from the first lap. We saw those incidents which meant the safety car came out. Then we had a race restart, and here is the highlights. So a great start from Daniel Mavliatov from pole position, then contact almost immediately at the front of the field, and then contact between Sean Rashid and Artur Rojan ended their race, which then caused a backup of everyone, and then chaos ensued on the way down the Craner curves. Sorry, the down Paddock Hill. That contact between Gerard Shee and Kuharczyk meant that was the end of both of their races, but racing continued until the safety car boards, and it was a great move around the outside by the number 23 Michael Shin on Morales. Then at the second safety car, after the safety car, it was a poor start from Styko that allowed Nico Christodoulou right on the back of Styko, and Christodoulou did make it through eventually. Tried around the outside, couldn't get it done first time, but got a nice cutback. And then we focused a lot of the race on our main championship battle, which was between Rees and Loke. And unfortunately, an error there about halfway through the race for Max Esserson in that the number 42 Forte Motorsport car that lost him a lot of places. Then that gap between the three cars sort of ebbed and flowed a little bit for the championship, but ultimately it was Daniel Mavliatov that took the win. Chased hard towards the end of the race by Nico Christodoulou, but Christodoulou couldn't quite make that stick in the end. So here are the provisional results as it stands. Daniel Mavliatov won ahead of Nico Christodoulou and Lucas Styko for Hillspeed, Arden and Douglas, respectively. Then it was Edward Pearson 4th, Noah Ping 5th, Michael Shin 6th, then David Morales in 7th, Taylor in 8th, 9th was Stewart, and 10th was John Bennett. Then down after the top 10 was 11th for Alex Dunn, a good result for him. Matthew Rees, James Headley, Callum Voisin and Joseph Loke. Then Cresswell, Toparis, Esterson after his mistake, Waberski after issues, and then the rest of the field, Rojan, Shee, Arau and Kuharczyk after their issues at the start of the race. That's a bit of a chaotic race there, but let's head down to Chris for the podium ceremony.
So fastest lap after that as well. So to get this final top three of the GB3 Championship partnered by the BRDC from here at Brands Hatch, it is as follows. In third place, car number 11, Lucas Styko. In second position, number 2, the Canadian driver, Nico Christodoulou. Well done, Nico. But the victory, his third of the season, goes to number 99, Daniel Mavliatov. Well done, Daniel. Up to the top he goes. And the trophies are presented. And last but by no means least, the Sunoco fastest lap goes the way of Joseph Loke. Well done, Joseph. Come on up, come over either side. Go that side, because then I can still escape if you're going to spray champagne or anything. Oh, good. No, they're not spraying champagne. So I'm going to stand out the way then for the photographs. I'm in the way there, aren't I now? I don't know where I'm going. Smile at the camera guys down there. So just let the cameras take their photographs. Up on the top step they go. And again, smile to the main cameras. And I think I've got time, Mark. I haven't had to grab a quick word. They're only just on their green flag lap, so we'll do with that. Okay, we've got that. Well, Daniel, congratulations. You only like the top step, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, happens this way.
Once you've got that sniff, that's the only one. You're not interested in 2 and 3, you'll just go for the top. I mean, you managed to boss that throughout. You could see him closing, but you managed the margin.
Yeah, I mean, that second to last lap through turn 1, I had a bit of a wobble. And then, yeah, I had to take it a bit safe for the final 3 laps, but worked out well.
How were the tyres?
I don't know, they were fine.
That's fair enough. That's interesting. We were interested to know how they were going to go. Second place, Nico. I mean, we watched you. You were hunting him down, and we could see you putting those laps in and getting closer and closer. It was almost more a case of you ran out of laps.
Yeah, I mean, I said after the race, I'm like, damn, this race isn't long enough. But yeah, it is what it is. He had a good race. He was fast. So yeah, I kept putting in good laps and trying to catch. He had that moment in 1, and then the rest of the lap was a bit messy. So I caught up a bit. But you know, it is what it is.
Well, great second place. Congratulations. Well done. And Lucas, a great third position in what was a very busy race for you.
Yeah, I think basically was all about the start. After the start was P2, and then after the safety car restart, I lost the position, but we didn't have the pace, so it's good to finish with the podium.
Well done. Great way to finish it. Final word, Joseph Loke, fastest lap. That kind of sums up not a bad weekend, really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, races 1 and 2 were pretty good. Shame I didn't get the win in the second race. But yeah, really happy for Callum for him to finally pick up his first win, which is quite long overdue, to be fair on him. So, yeah, it was. I mean, this race, it was okay. You know, I managed to avoid the carnage at the start. Unfortunately, a flying front wing then hit my front wing and damaged mine, which I didn't realise till the end of the safety car. So it put me back quite a bit. But, you know, we fought back through, got 1 or 2 positions after the safety car. So, you know, pretty happy overall. It's been a good weekend, and, you know, we're leaving with a good haul of points, which is always nice.
Fabulous job. Well done. Congratulations to the GB3 podium. And on time, back to you, Mark.
Yeah, because the front row of the grid is only just pulling up now in the Ginetta Junior Championship. So reasons to win.
So that was the final race of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix weekend. We had ups, we had downs. The reverse grid didn't fail to give us some excitement. There will be some drivers that maybe not ending the way that the weekend the way they wanted, but our championship contenders, Callum Voisin and Joseph Loke, are taking this championship fight forward. A good recovery drive for the weekend for Alex Dunn after his difficulties in race number 1. It was a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed watching it at home. We have, of course, one more GB4 race later coming up today. I think we're on about 5:10, so make sure you're watching it on the MSV TV YouTube channel. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be coming to you from Zandvoort for GB3 once again in a few weeks' time.